All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in to the Black Nationalist. This is a new video for today. I want to apologize for not putting out anything over the weekend like I was supposed to. I was a little bit under the weather. But anyway, I want to talk about something that is very important. I'm sure that you guys probably listen to the new black media and then other black individuals that are talking about subjects that is being featured in the news lately. Especially we're all talking about the character assassination that is going on with our black men, in particular Michael Jackson, a man, a legend who really moved the entire world. Basically, his music went across every race, culture. It did not matter. It touched everyone. And yet individuals are over here slandering him based off of two people who has been proven to be liars. And you have to ask yourself, why in the world is people still saying that, oh, Michael Jackson had to do this, even though they are ignoring the evidence? We see what took place with Bill Cosby. They was able to go after him over hearsay of old, washed out white woman, and even though they did not charge him, they could not charge him over the rape accusations because there wasn't enough evidence for it, but they still put him behind bars. And even to this day, people still believe that he is a rapist, even though he is not. And then we see right now in the news about R. Kelly, everything is just coming out. We just had a guy, his name is Dennis, who's from Pennsylvania, and we saw him all with Gloria Allred. He said in one of the ABC7 here that I saw, that he said that he was just in his house, cleaning up, and then he stumbled across the boxes of VCRs, and then he saw one of the tape. It had had the name Kelly on it. He said that it had like a sports team logo on the VCR, and he just happened to see that R. Kelly was allegedly, well, in his words, he said it was R. Kelly, but according to his lawyer, that it is definitely not him. However, the guy, Dennis, he said that he don't know how he came into possession of that. He believed that it was one of his friends' tape, and he had this for over 20 years. So I'm just trying to figure out as to how in the world is this possible? Why are you in the possession of pornography? But it doesn't matter because the media is still saying that, oh, since we have this third tape, because they cannot keep this guy in jail, so let's going to continue to throw out something that is going to persuade the masses into believing the media. What is happening is something that the father of propaganda has always noted. His name is Edward Bernays. I may be mispronouncing his last name, but I believe it is Bernays. And he is the father of modern day mass propaganda. With him, he is a psychologist, I believe. And with him, Edward, he managed to convince whole industries that advertisement is not what sells the product, but the carefully thought out combination of news and playing on the unconscious. Meaning individuals who are not critical thinkers. People that is not conscious to the world that is around them. People that is not open to what is being fed to them on a daily basis. And Edward, he used his uncle Sigmund Freud finding on psychological motivations and applied them with the goal of manipulating people into believing in the necessity rather than the wish of having something. See, again, when you kidnap someone's psyche, you can make them believe everything that you're saying, or everyone knows that Stockholm syndrome. When that individual is under your control for so long, you start to emulate them. You start to behave and think like them, because that is the human brain. That is what we are. There is, I believe it is called, let me see here. hypothalamus. And basically what that does, if anyone wants to look it up, what it does, it maintains daily psychological cycles. It also releases hormones, regulating body temperature, controlling appetite, managing of sexual behavior, and regulating emotional responses. The brain is a powerful tool, and it's also the most misunderstood tool as well. But when you have individuals that knows how to prey on that and knows how to take control of it, it's kind of hard for you to break it. And the reason why I'm bringing up Edward is because it parallels us to the thought of the masses down to this day in 2019, and when he first started this. When this mindset of his came about when World War One, he had observed the workings of propaganda and making people believe that the war claims were just and worth fighting for. We see that today all the time with join the Navy or join the Army because our country, we want to make sure that we protect our freedom. We want to make sure that we are a step ahead against terrorism. You prey upon the minds of individuals by using fear, by making people think that, oh, you need to do this so that you can protect yourself, when really, if you really snap out of the hypnosis, you will see that it's all just a money-making plan. But anyway, I just want to continue to go on with Mr. Edward Bernays. Now, he went on to say that, quote, those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. He also went on to say we are governed, our minds are molded, our taste formed, and our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. It is they who put the wires that controls the public mind. Now, I want to go back to what he said, how our minds are molded. Just as you use clay, you get you a new tub of clay, and you just take a piece of it out, and you just put it in your hand and squeeze it, and then you release your fingers and you see the engravings of your prints, everything about your fingers and everything about your hands on this clay. Now, sometimes we could become so easily manipulated because people know how to say the right things. They know how to make you feel comfortable, and they know how to make you feel at ease so that you can trust them. And in that way, they are in a better position to mold you, to shape your thinking. They can mold you into have you to think that what is right is wrong and what is wrong is right. This has always been something that mankind has been facing for thousands of years. It's just that right now we're truly experiencing that right now. The way how your ideas are suggested, you're basically telling someone, just like you want to suggest a new restaurant to your friend. Normally the time when your friend is like, hey, I want to go here and I want to, try this food out. I want to go to my favorite restaurant. But then your friend say, hey, I want to suggest this to you. And your friend starts saying, this restaurant is very nice. I mean, the top quality chef, and then the food of how it makes your taste bud explode. But they're going to leave out the price tag. You don't know if you're going to be able to pay for it, or because they're not going to include that, hey, I'm going to pay the bill or anything like that. Because in their mind, they want to force you to come out of something that you're comfortable in being in, something that you're used to being around. Just to continue on with Mr. Bernays' propaganda, he had to change it because some of the people was feeling some type of way, especially after with the start of World War II, because it was like, okay, you're basically trying to tell us that we can't think for ourselves. So what he did was switch from propaganda to public relations. And just to let you know how successful that this guy was, he was able to convince many clients, and they are still down to this day: General Electrics, the American Tobacco Company, and big media companies such as CBS, to apply the techniques of controlling the minds of people without them openly noticing it. CBS, MSNBC, Fox News, the whole nine. There's a reason why a lot of these companies, they are owned by one, and you have to think to yourself, why is it that I can go anywhere in any state? And I remember, I think I brought this out on one of the on Nicole's broadcast, I believe, that there was a collage and that I have seen. I think it was on one of Conan's late night shows, and each of the news, the 10 o'clock news, they said the same thing. It was mentioning of a bunny rabbit. And it was just like, okay, why is everyone repeating the same thing when they live from different city to city? You're molding individuals' minds who is watching you. May they be young or may they be old. You see, when you constantly bombard people with the same information every single day, you making people feel that if you don't get this information right away and you don't listen to what we're saying, you are going to miss out. And then not only just that, you are going to be looked at as the odd person when you're talking to a group of people. Because when you're around individuals that saying the same thing, and then you're like, wait a minute, hold on. They're going to target you. So the best thing, in order for you to conform to the masses, you're going to continue to view the information that you see on your mainstream media. Well, Mr. Edward, he was able to convince such individuals to adapt his teaching. And just to show how it was even successful is one of the campaigns that was used for targeting women to indulge in smoking through the Lucky Strike campaign. He played on two important aspects of female psychology as he saw it: their wish to be slim and their affinity for fashion. The campaign was designed to convince women that smoking will help slim their waist. And we see that. And also, I want to share this information. Nazi minister of propaganda Joseph Goebbels read Barnet's writings and found them fascinating. He used techniques devised by Bernays, who was himself a Jew, to propagate anti-Semitic propaganda. So Edward, he was successful at convincing top entities to adapt his way of teaching if he wants to, if they want to have the mind or control over individuals' minds and the masses. You have someone who was a Nazi minister of propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, who read his writings, who is himself a Jew, to propagate anti-Semitic propaganda. Why else do you think every single time that we hear on the news that, if you mention anything about, I'm just going to say the Hebrews, if you mention anything about them, you know what? No, anything about the Jews, then you are deemed anti-Semitic. This is how the mastery of conforming, of forcing people to adopt your way of thinking, especially as it says, plant on the unconsciousness of others. This is where critical thinking has to come into play, because critical thinking was not accepted by Edwards, which is why he was so successful and making sure that his ideology was accepted amongst the masses, and how big corporations that we use down to this day and that we see down to this day, they use it so successfully. For an example, Apple. I am in IT. I already know that Apple, their face screens is built by Samsung. That is their patent. But I'll never forget when I was getting my Samsung. This was a while back, and this young lady that I work with, she pre-ordered the Apple phone, and then when she finally got it, she was like, "Look, as I just swipe on the keyboard, it automatically generates the words for me." And I said, Samsung was already doing that, right? And she was like, "Yeah, I know." And I said, I'm just trying to figure out as to why are you so excited about this, because this phone is similar to Samsung. Heck, Apple uses Samsung, their items. And she was like, "Oh, it's just Apple." And then, people, they will also say that, only people who complain about Apple is the ones who can't afford it. Yeah, this is what happens when you constantly bombard those who are not willing to think for themselves. You tell them and you force them. You let them know that, hey, this is what you need to do in order for you to feel good and better about yourself. If you don't buy this, if you don't get this, you're going to be lost. No one is going to want to be around you. No one. See, people like myself and others who knows how to think critical, because the reason why those who think critical are constantly ostracized is because it means reasoning on your judgments by using logic and well thought out methods. So it's not that with a critical thinker, you're not just going to accept all arguments. You are going to say, okay, how do you know this? What evidence do you have to support this claim that everyone is saying around you? So I said all that to bring up to what I was mentioning. The situations with R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby. Right now they're going after Marcus Houston. That's one guy. He was a black guy. He said that look at Marcus Houston. What is he doing with a 19-year-old, being engaged with a 19-year-old? Now we all know what man in his early 40s, because I believe he might be 40 years old. He might be. I didn't really look it up to get his direct age, but his fiance is 19. She's at an age to get married. She's well over 18. But yet, see, the very companies, they have molded our people, well, not just our people, but humans in general, to accept that one particular entity way of thinking. And that's it. The minute that you try to branch out for that, then you're looked at as you having horns coming out the back of your head. Because by us constantly being bombarded with this, we're every single time now, it seems like when you see a black man that's with a younger woman, then we have to say something about it, but we want to ignore that white man who has done the same thing. Now, we all seen this, all of us. Jerry Seinfeld. We seen it all. I don't even have to go into it, because it's very, you sometimes just get tired of constantly going back and forth, bringing up facts and things to that nature. No matter how many times that you bring up the facts, because you are a critical thinker, people will shut it down. Why? Because they don't have a mind of themselves. They are an empty shell. And this is why individuals, the father of propaganda, was so successful in his time. He studied the human brain. He was able to work off of the emotions of the psyche of the human brain to force people to conform to his way of thinking. And the best way that he did that was by going to giants, to corporate giants, and all they did was listen to him, and then all hell just broke loose. So every single time when you see the commercials, it's like, back what it was saying about what the tobacco company, even though the tobacco company is like, yeah, we know it's going to give you cancer, but look, we are going to use this beautiful woman right here. She looks good. Green is associated with wealth. She has this nice tiny waist, the whole 9 yards, but yet you killing yourself on the inside. Going back to what I was talking about with Apple. You gotta have this new device, because if not, you're gonna be the uncoolest person at the job. You're gonna be the uncoolest kid at school. When you can just buy yourself a regular Android for $50 and it does all the features, if not more, than an Apple device. But see, and this also goes back to home as well, when the parents do not take control of their child by molding their mindset so that they can be critical thinkers. What parents are doing these days is allowing the media to tell them what to think and how to feel. You see, this is the problem. When you do things off of emotions, it's going to create a lot of issues for you. And what's going to happen is going to just be a dominated effect, and it's going to affect those around you. When you try to we are presenting evidence every single day saying why we should not be condemning people when facts has been presented. We should not be calling them rapists when the fact says that they are not a rapist. We should not be saying he's a pedophile when the fact says that they are not a pedophile. But again, propaganda, it works. And I'm going to give you another example. Right now, what just came out from what I saw about opening my news feed is from MSN.com. And it said that Google agreed to pay Amit, his last name is spelled Singhal, who ran its search division. They agreed to pay this man $45 million after he was accused of groping an employee, according to a court filed on Monday. This is from the New York Times. It came out today. Now, it says here that the suit was part of the fallout over how Google has handled sexual harassment cases. This is not plastered all over the news. Why isn't this plastered all over the news? We are being bombarded every single day with our black men on what was supposedly happened, on what took place to them, and who they supposedly sexually assaulted and things to that nature. Why isn't this all over the news? I should have been seeing this ever since this broke. I should be seeing this on Twitter. I should be seeing this on CNN. I should be seeing this on Facebook. I should be seeing this on all type of social media. But see, the thing is, yes, even though propaganda works, what works even better is to continue to paint black people, especially black men, as sexual deviants, or by them being so hypersexual that you could just be walking down the street and a black man would just be looking at a woman and he's ready to rape her. That is the mindset that has been pushed upon individuals, upon mankind throughout the world for so many centuries. And if you don't want to believe me, there is a book. It's called Stamped from the Beginning. The first name is Ibram, Ibram. Let me go back here. And okay, it's coming from chapter 3 on page 31. And it says here in the first paragraph, even a lonely abolitionist French philosopher John Bowden found his thoughts bogged down by tales connecting two simultaneous discoveries, that of West Africans and that of the dark, tailless apes walking around like humans in West Africa. Africa's heat had produced hypersexual Africans, Bowden theorized in 1576. And intimate relations between the man and beast still give birth to monsters in Africa. The climate theory of Africa's hot son, transforming the people into uncivil beasts of burdens, still held the court of racist opinions. For English traveler George Best, climate theory fell apart when he saw on an Arctic voyage in 1577 that the Inuit people in northern Canada were darker than the people living in the hotter south. So what I just read to you, this has been a long time, over 500 centuries of dogma that white people had bestowed upon us Africans, that we are nothing but hyposexual beasts because we come from a hot climate. So this again, once you understand, see, you have to study white people history, because white people have studied our history. That's why they have been able to change it to suit them. We have to study these individuals' history, because when we study their history, we will be in a better position to use the information that they try to say against them. Like, no, we're not the ones that are hyposexual. You all the ones that came over to Africa and started raping everyone. So that is a lie. And it's this dogma right here. And then now you see why every single time, and I said it in my first video, one of the Democratic men back in I think 1904, I believe it was, and he said that we have to protect our white daughters from these beasts. That's what he said in so many words. It's called The Sundown Town, if you want to look it up. That's where the book, that's where his statement comes from. So white men has always viewed black men as being these rapists and sexual deviants, because this has been the teachings from so long ago. It's been the teaching for so long ago, and people have adapted that. This is why I'm not going to go into that, because I want to make sure that I stay on topic. But you have other men, these white men. Now this guy, he looks Indian. But you have all these other men who's over here committing these heinous crimes, and there is actual proof and evidence, but yet they're not being plastered every single day throughout the day, like our black men is being plastered every single day throughout the day, and they're being fed false information. People is being fed false information by these entities that are in control and making sure that the world continues to fear the black men. And black women, don't think for a second that white people is not going to turn on us. You need to stop thinking for a second that they are not going to turn on us, because they will. They already consider, you know what, to be honest with you, they already consider us hypersexuals too, because it did not make a distinction between genders. So I mean, they love to say that we make a lot of babies. That's what they love to say, that's all we do is make babies. That's it. Whereas the black man, he goes around and raping their woman, which is not true at all. It's quite the opposite. Now, hopefully, because I didn't want to go too much into this, because I did not want this video to be extremely long. But hopefully I was able to provide some type of information versus what I see on YouTube from other black journalists. I'm sorry, I want to say journalists, but you know, just from the black media, period. Let us please try to teach our children, anyone that is listening to this, if you have any children, you need to start because their brain is like a sponge. They could soak up anything. Make sure that you teach them critical thinking. Teach them how to use reasoning and logic so that they can be able to separate what is true from false. Because we are seeing so much now in the news, more so than I can remember. This is why I don't watch mainstream anything, shows or news or anything like that, because all you doing is just feeding that one-eyed monster of yours, and you do not want that to be, you do not want to become corrupted. When you know, and I have said this plenty of times, when you know that you are on the right track and when you know that what you're saying is true, is when you have people that comes out and attack you and assault you. I'm sorry, and insult you. They can't come at you with something logical. They cannot come back with you on something with information that can counter offer what you just said. They just want to go right ahead and just insult your intelligence. They want to start talking about your sexuality. You know, when it comes to, let's just say a female, when a man is saying, hey, this is why a lot of you are not dateable, and then what she does, she go off and start making fun of the size of his penis. Or if a woman, if she says, you know, hey man, if you guys would change this or change that, he would say, oh, that's why your vagina is this large, or whatever the case may be. We just start insulting each other in some of the worst ways. And it's like, okay, you know what? I need to leave you alone. And then you just have to deal with other intellectuals. This is why a lot of people who are intellectuals, they dwell amongst themselves. They're very small. They don't have a large amount of numbers. I have come to realize that when you have a large amount of friends, you're easily persuaded. And not only just that, I really have to question your character, because it's one thing to be nice and popular, but as you get older, you're supposed to get wiser. When you're young, of course, you're going to do foolish stuff, and all of your friends are doing foolish things with you. But as you get older, you should be able to say, okay, I'm not supposed to be doing this, and why am I still doing this? You know, if you're not questioning, if you're maturing, and when I say being mature, I'm not talking about your age, because maturity does not come with age. But if you're not thinking that, you know what, let's just say, for an example, we all know at the club you have a lot of young people. And say if you're 35, I'm about to be 35. Let's just say for myself, I don't have a desire to go to the club. The last time I went to a club, I was 21, and I didn't even like it. But right now, you won't catch me in there. Why? Because I can't relate to those young people in there. I can't relate to the music, because the music is trash. You know, they're no longer dancing. They're just having dry sex on the dance floor. So I can't relate to that. And not only just that, I don't want to be around such toxic people. You know, and it's like, it's not appealing to me. I would rather be at home reading a book or drawing. I would like to get back into playing the piano like I used to. Just doing something that's going to continue to stimulate my mind, not something that is going to allow me to waste my brain cells. I mean, there's nothing good that comes out of continue to stay and act your shoe size. There's nothing attractive about that. So, again, parents, make sure that you stay on top as far as training your children. Let your children know what happens when they associate with bad people. It will spoil their useful habits. It will spoil it. You know, because when you hang around good people, when you hang around intellects, you will learn and you will continue to grow and you will continue to bounce off of ideas. You're not going to be so easily persuaded like the waves of the sea. You want to be like an anchor from a ship. Whenever, no matter how bad that the waves get, that ship is not going anywhere, because it is fastened. It is fastened to the seabed. So it's not going to go anywhere. But if you're someone that is just a seaweed, you're not firmly anchored, no matter which way that wind goes, that's exactly how your mind is going to go. And this is what we are seeing today. No matter what the news put out, the news can tell you that, hey, I think somebody said something. No, the news can say that, you know what, the sky tomorrow, once you walk outside, it's going to be yellow paint with pink polka dots. Even though logically, you know, good and well, that's not true. But if you're the type of person that is an empty vessel, that does not know how to think for oneself, then you are going to walk outside and you're going to say, yeah, you're right. I see a little bit of dots over here and I see a little bit of yellow. Yeah. And then when someone at the bus stop next to you is like, oh, this is a beautiful clear blue sky, and then they're like, no, it's yellow with the polka dots, don't you see? You're going to look at them and say, no, it is not. Something is wrong with you. But then once you say that, they're going to be like, oh, you're judging me, or I need to go into my safe place. No, we're heading to a collapse of civilization right now. We are heading to that. And then when you have mindless zombies out here that cannot think for themselves, this is what you're going to get. This is what we're seeing. So yeah, I did not want to make this video too long. I see it's already at 34 minutes because I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about Gloria on Alred, on some of the information that I have looked up today. So yeah, I hope everyone has enjoyed this pre-recorded video. Have a good night.